Laudetur Jesus Christus. There are certain things that I need to cover that are still related to the concept of conjugations. We were talking about the third conjugation, the one that ends with a consonant. And we were looking at the verb dicere, dico dicis, dicere, dixi, dictum. And we saw that in present tense, we use the stem and we add the personal endings, and we get dico, dicis, dicit, dicimus, dicitis, dicunt. However, if we were strictly adhering to the concept of taking the stem and adding the personal endings, notice that we would wind up with dico, dix, dict, dicmus, dictis, dicunt, which would not sound very pleasant. So as we can see, certain vowels were inserted in between to make it more pleasant sounding. So it is actually dico, dicis, dicit, dicimus, dicitis. So e, dicis, dicit, dicimus, dicitis, and then u for dicunt. But there are certain verbs, such as, for example, capio, to desire, capio, cupis, cupere, cupitum, cupivi, cupitum, or capio, to catch, to grab hold of something, capio, capis, capere, cepi, captum, capio, capis, capere, cepi, captum. And that one, in present tense, is conjugated as capio, capis, capit, capimus, capitis, capiunt. Now if we put them side by side with dico, dicis, dicit, dicimus, dicitis, dicunt, we see a slight difference, namely in first person singular. If we were following the pattern of dico, dicis, out of dicere, then we would have to have capo, capis, out of capere. But there is another letter inserted there, capio. And in plural, the third person is capiunt, not capunt. Dicunt, but capiunt. Dico, capio. So the question might be, well, where did that letter I, that capio and capiunt, come from? At one time, this verb used to be not capere, but capiere. And you could write it with a double letter I or with a J, and it would have been capio, capiis, capiit, capimus, capietis, capiunt. But because it's not easy to pronounce, it became simplified from capiis into capis, and from capiit into capit, and from capimus into capitis, etc. So we wound up, but in the first person, it's not difficult to say capio instead of capo. So capio is easy to pronounce, and so is capiun. So there the extra letter remained. So this is why we have this form, which could be thought of as a kind of a subgroup of the third declension. The most common one would be represented by dicere, dico, dicis, dicit, dicimus, dicitis, dicunt. And this one could be represented by capere, capio, capis, capit, capimus, capitis, capiunt. Capio, capiunt. As I mentioned, cupio would be another one, to desire. Cupio, cupis, cupit, cupimus, cupitis, cupiunt. And a very important verb, facio, facere, feci, factum. To do or to make something. Facio, facis, facit, facimus, facitis, faciunt. So we will use this facio as a sample for our subgroup of the third conjugation in our schedule. Also, I have talked about the fact that in Latin we combine prepositions such as in, pro, cum, and many others with nouns or with verbs in order to create new families of words. And our capio could be a very good example for this, because there are various words not derived from, but created out of this one verb, such as, for example, accipio, to accept, to receive; concipio, to conceive; decipio, to deceive; incipio, to begin; intercipio, to intercept; percipio, to perceive or to grasp; praecipio, to admonish or to teach; recipio, to receive; suscipio, to undertake. So as you could see, this is a very good example of what a great variety of verbs can be derived from one concept, the concept of getting hold of something. Now let's explore a few verbs. First of all, let's look at a sample sentence for facio. As I mentioned, facio being an important word to know. This is taken from the Gospel of St. John. Nicodemus venit ad Iesum. Nicodemus came to Jesus at night, nocte, et dixit ei, and he told him, et dixit ei, Rabbi, scimus quia ad eo venisti magister. We know that you came from God, a teacher. Nemo enim potest, for no one can. Haec signa facere, do these signs. So there we have the facere. Haec signa facere, que tu facis, which you are doing. Nisi fuerit Deus cum eo, unless God would be with him. So again, Nicodemus venit ad Iesum nocte et dixit ei, Rabbi, scimus quia ad eo venisti magister, nemo enim potest haec signa facere, que tu facis, nisi fuerit Deus cum eo. Signa facere, que tu facis. Do the signs that you are doing. Now let's look at the beginning of the Gospel of Mark to go over some other verbs and nouns. Initium Evangelii Jesu Christi, the beginning, initium Evangelii Jesu Christi, all in genitivus, of the Gospel of Jesus Christ. Initium Evangelii Jesu Christi, Filii Dei. Filii, genitivus, we already did. Filius, filii, filio, filium, filio. And Deus is declined the same way. Deus, Dei, Deo, Deum, Deo. So Filii Dei, of the Son of God. Sicut scriptum est in Isaiah propheta, as it is written in Isaiah the prophet. Sicut scriptum est in Isaiah propheta. And now there is a quotation. Ecce ego mitto angelum meum. Behold, I send ego mitto angelum meum ante faciem tuam, before you or before your face, but face is not understood literally, but figuratively. As we say, somebody's in your face, we don't refer actually to the face, but the face represents the person. So in this case, he's sending the angel before him. Ante faciem tuam, qui, who, referring to the angel, preparabit viam tuam ante te, will prepare your way before you, ante te. Let me read it without interruptions. Initium Evangelii Iesu Christi Filii Dei, sicut scriptum est in Isaia profeta, ecce ego mitto angelum meum ante faciem tuam, qui preparabit viam tuam ante te. As I said, initium is the beginning, evangelium, evangelii, the gospel, Deus, Dei, God. Sicut is a composite word, sic, so, and ut, as. So sicut, as it is written, sicut. We say in the Our Father, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Yeah, thy will be done as it is in heaven, sicut in cielo. Now there's a third conjugation, verb scribere, because our sentence says, sicut scriptum est in Isaia profeta, as it is written in Isaiah the prophet. So scribere is conjugated like dicere, the radix, what do we call it in English? The stem ends with a consonant, scrib. So scribo, scribi, scribit, scribimus, scribitis, scribunt. And the principal parts of scribere is scribo, scribi, scribere, scripsi, scriptum. So that's what we have here. As it is written, sicut scriptum est. And est, it is a very important verb, and perhaps the most essential one that we need to know. It is the verb esse, to be, and it's fairly irregular. The principal parts of it are sum, es, esse, fui, and it doesn't have the passive past participle. Some verbs don't have certain forms for obvious reasons. And the present tense of esse is as follows. Ego sum, tu es, ille, illa, illud est. Nos sumus, vos estis, illi sunt. Sum es est, sumus estis sunt. Very important, essential verb that we do need to commit to memory. And here we see in this sentence, scriptum est, it is written, sum es est, scriptum est, in Isaia profeta. So with this again we come to the end of our 15 minutes, and I will continue with this at our next 15 minutes a day of Latin.